Hi everyone, Ro from Ro's Kitchen, and we're going to start the process of the marinara first. So you can hear the saute pot. So I've got the Instapot started. You can see that over here. There it is. And I'm going to go ahead and add, and I'm going to saute. So I put the saute button on. So we're going to make marinara. So let me start telling you what the ingredients are because I may not get them in the bottom of the message. So need a pen and paper. All right, so I started with 6 cloves of garlic, and I crushed them up with the onions. I have 1 large onion, and so what you can see here, what I did, and I like to put a paper towel because when I do a wet chop, so I took 1 onion and I quartered it and I threw it in my Vitamix. I took 6 cloves of 6 cloves of garlic, threw that in with that. Filled it halfway with water and did what's called a wet chop in the Vitamix. You can also do that in a blender, just pulse it, okay? So that's nice and chopped, and I got most of the liquid out because when you do a wet chop, it's extremely wet. And I didn't want to saute from there because it takes longer. Then I took 3 carrots and I did a wet chop on those too. So we're gonna just start with sauteing, okay? So I put my garlic and my onion, and I'll put my carrots. And actually, I'll be honest with you, this is really too much carrot. So I am going to only use maybe half of this, or 3/4. I'll save this for something else. Trust me, I'll use it. All right. So I've got it on the saute, and it's going to start cooking for us. And as that cooks down, then we'll head for our other ingredients. So write down 6 cloves of garlic, minced, 1 large onion, chopped, and 3 small carrots, chopped. And I did a wet chop for all of them. So we're going to go ahead and let that saute. All right? Good. I'll be right back. Over the rest of the ingredients while this is finishing sauteing. So I've got my carrots and onions sauteing in here, and actually I'm going to add a splash of vegetable broth, only to keep it from sticking. All right. So it's actually starting to stick over here, but what I love about stainless steel is when you add liquid, it comes off right away. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. It doesn't matter, just because we're going to add the rest of our ingredients now. So let me go over what I'm adding for you. I am then adding 2 packs of crushed tomatoes, and this is crushed tomatoes with basil, and I found this at H-E-B, our grocery store here. So I'm going to add 2 of these. And I always rinse these with water, and that's probably about a 1/4 cup because I am going to add water at the end. So I'm going to add 2 of these. And I called for really, like, I used to buy the can, but they didn't have the can here that I liked from the East Coast. I like tutto rosso. And then I'm going to add, so now I'm adding about a cup of water altogether, probably. I just eyeballed that, okay? So we've got that added in. Okay. Now I'm going to add, this is about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, okay? All right. And then I've got about 3/4 of a cup of fresh chopped basil, my favorite. Okay. Now notice I still have the iPot on saute, and I will be turning that to simmer soon. Then I've got about, I guess this is about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I'm going to add that. Then I'm going to add about, I will tell you, I will use salt for this. I'm going to use about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, just a little bit. And I'll tell you why. When you're doing things with acid, acidic, you really need a little bit of salt. And then the last thing I'm putting in, now years ago I always added sugar to mine, and but now I'm going to use, and I didn't have agave, so I'm going to use some coconut syrup. But it's basically a sweetener because, again, when you're cooking with acidics, you really need a balance. So I'm adding a little bit of the sugar. And then and then the very last thing I'll add is my favorite, is wine, red wine, a dry red wine. But I will tell you, if you don't have wine, it's not a big deal. You can also use balsamic vinegar. A balsamic works great. So with the wine, I stopped by the store today and I got, it's a twist off, it's cheap. I only spent $3.99, that's my limit on wine. And I have my handy dandy jar opener here. And it calls for, I would say, I'm not used to measuring. So maybe, I don't know, this is a third of a cup. I would add maybe a quarter cup, a half a cup, third of a cup, maybe half a cup. You never have too much wine in your sauce. Okay, there you go, guys. There's my secret sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and cook that down. I think what I'm gonna do in the pressure cooker here, in my Instapot, is I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover on. I'm going to put it on, I'm gonna do the keep warm setting. I'm debating on whether or not I should do the, I love that noise. I think I'll do it on the pressure. I'll do it on manual, and I'm gonna do it for just 3 minutes. There's no meat in there. I mean, there's no meat. There's nothing chunky or fattening. I don't know. Anyway, 3 minutes. I'm trying to remember what I used to do. Oh, because we used to do rice and everything on 3 minutes, potatoes on 2. So, all right. So we got that all set. So that's the end of the marinara. Now, when it's done, it might be kind of chunky. Marinara normally is, but I, again, do things different. I plan to use my emulsifier thingy, and I'm going to make it smooth because I like a smoother sauce. So we're good to go on that. Next thing we're going to do is put together our ingredients for the meatballs. Well, the sauce now is simmering in the Instapot. It's actually done cooking, and it's on the keep warm mode because I'm going to let that happen so that I can release the pressure later, but it's fine sitting in there. We'll give it a taste, and then we'll creamy it up a little bit later. Let me go over the ingredients with you. Have your pen and paper ready again for the meatballs, okay? So, again, I chopped 1 onion, and I did a wet chop, so you can see that I have the paper towel in there. So but I did 1 onion and I did 1 stalk of celery. Oh, hold on, let me turn off the dishwasher. I can't believe I'm actually using the dishwasher. I haven't used it. I never use a dishwasher. But a half a cup of bulgur wheat, which is right here. I got that in the bulk section at Whole Foods, so that's a half a cup. And I'm going to put that in a pot with 1 cup of water. And what we'll do is we'll put that in the water, cover it, and bring it to a boil over medium heat. And that has to simmer for 10 or 15 minutes till all the water is absorbed, okay? So that's probably like our binder, our filling, okay? Then we're going to do, so let's keep going down the ingredient list so you can write this down. So you have the half a cup of bulgur, you have 1 cup of water. Got that so far? Good. Then you have 1 onion diced and a celery stalk diced. Okay, got that? Okay. A half a cup of finely chopped walnuts, and my walnuts are right here. Half a cup finely chopped walnuts, write that down. 1 14-ounce block of extra firm tofu, drained, and mine's sitting in the sink now in a strainer, just waiting for me. A tablespoon of tamari. I'll pause a little bit so you get to write this down, because I'm too lazy to type, and I'm so sorry. 1.5 cups of whole wheat breadcrumbs, but I'll be honest with you, it says fresh whole wheat, so you can make them yourself, but I'll be honest with you, since we're having meatballs, I used Italian breadcrumbs because I prefer that flavoring to mine, so I changed it up. So, 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs. 3 cloves of garlic minced, it's right here, 3 cloves, and I did that through my garlic press. 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and I didn't use thyme leaves now, I used the dried thyme, okay? So that's 1 teaspoon dried thyme, you want the powder. 1/4 cup of Vital wheat gluten. Now it does say it's optional, but if you leave that out, your meatballs may not firm up enough. okay? So they might be a little loose. 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to add it this time, but I don't normally add the nutmeg, only because I don't like to mix that flavor with something I want to be like an Italian meatball. And then 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Those are your ingredients. Do you have them all written down? If not, go back and listen again. I'm pretty sure I gave you enough time to write. All right, so we preheated the oven at 375, and I'm going to use, you can use parchment paper, but I will use a cookie sheet with my Silpat, okay? All right, and then I'm going to place the water. I put a cup of water in my saucepan, and I'm going to add my bulgur to that, like I had given you in the instructions. So we got that. I'm going to put it on medium-high heat, and that's this one. I've got to make sure I got the right one. I always get them mixed up. So I'm going to add my light. I hope it's not too much light for you. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to stir that up. So remember, it was a 1/2 cup of bulgur to 1 cup of water. I'm going to put the lid on it, and we're going to wait for that to cook down. The pan I put on the stove to get it heated up, because I like a hot pan when I saute my onions. And you can see there was a lot of liquid in that. Look how soaking wet that paper towel is. And that's because I did the, it's still dripping water, too much. I did the wet chop. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. You'll hear the sizzle. I did this one finer than I did the one for the sauce. So that's fine. And we're going to go ahead and saute that down. And I have a cup of water sitting here ready to splash in when I need water. They say to start the water first, but I never do, because I don't know, I like to brown them first, or at least with this, I need to draw that water out, so I don't need to add more water. Now this, okay, so I hear it bubbling up. I don't want it to bubble over. I just hate when that happens. I don't need a mess, okay? It's just ridiculous. So I'm going to put that on low and see if that helps. That should do it. I think that'll do it. All right. And I'm going to show you where I'm getting this recipe from. Even though I tweaked it, I'm going to show you where I got it from. I don't want you to think this is my original recipe. There's no way. Okay, I'm not that smart. I can tweak things and change things, but I don't think I could design a recipe. All right, so I'm adding the tofu into my Vitamix, and into that I have to add the tamari. Into the tofu I'm adding tamari, and then I'm going to blend that until it's smooth. So we'll put that on the Vitamix. That won't take long. Okay. I'm going to push down the sides a little bit. Getting creamy. A couple seconds more ought to do it. I think we're done with that. Yep, looks good, nice and creamy. And you can do this in a food processor. You know, it doesn't have to be, obviously it does not have to be a Vitamix, okay? Let's go back to the onions and see how they're making out. So they're getting good, they're getting there. Remember, they were wet chopped, so they have a lot of moisture in them, you know? So they're gonna take a little bit longer to cook down because I did not drain the water out as much as I should have. All right, so while the onions and celery are still cooking down a little bit, I'm going to show you where I got the recipe, because I'm no genius, okay? It's called Plant Pure Nation Cookbook. It's fantastic. It's by Kim Campbell. Forward is by T. Colin Campbell. My doctor, I like to always say, even though he's not physically my doctor, I like to call him my doctor. And it's called Veggie Balls. And that's the recipe. And I gave it to you that way, so if you don't have the book and you don't want to run out and buy the book, you can make it yourself. So again, it's Plant Pure Nation, not Rosemary Zarega, and they're called Veggie Balls, and all I did was tweak the recipe a little bit, make it a little more Italian, okay? And that's with the Italian breadcrumbs, and actually I would leave out the nutmeg. Bulgur, all the water has evaporated, and so now it just says, in a large bowl, to combine everything. I tell you, it smells like oatmeal. All right, so that looks like the water's pretty gone, pretty well evaporated, don't you think? See, it's pretty flaky. So we'll add that. It doesn't say to let it cool. So I'm just going to assume we are fine adding it just like this. All right, so we're going to add that. I'll just stick that up there for now. And then it says to add all the other ones. So I'm going to see if I need to put them in any kind of an order. So combine the bulgur, the veggies, the tofu. I'll do the tofu next. I'm still waiting on the veggies to cook. The veggies mean the onion and celery. I will tell you, when you're cleaning out the Vitamix, it's not as easy as if I did it with the food processor can. I'm going to stir that up a little bit just to get that mixed. Kind of looks good just like that, actually. So here I'm going to bring in a little bit so you can see what's going on in the bowl. I think that's really important. Okay, more important than seeing my face. All right, so roll up my sleeves, get into this. The celery and onions are done. I'm going to go ahead and add them. They're browned. I like them like that, but they're sauteed. I know they're supposed to be just transparent, but that's okay. If it's a little brown in there, it gives it more of that look of meat, right? So that's fine by me. All right, so I'm going to just start adding everything now. I've got everything sitting here. I've got my breadcrumbs. I've got my wheat gluten. I'm going to go ahead and add the nutmeg. Hope I don't regret it. The walnuts, the thyme, and the minced garlic. Honestly, I wish I had sauteed the minced garlic. I'm not sure I like the idea of the minced garlic in there all by itself like that. And then we're going to just mix it up. So I'm going to mix with my hands, but I hate to tell you I do use gloves, and only because I can't stand getting stuff under my fingernails. Maybe I'm just getting cranky in my old age. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up and get it all mixed so it's nice. Oops, we don't want to lose any. And it smells pretty good. I've got my sheet pan all ready with my Silpat. But like I said, you can use parchment paper. So, all right, so these are the meatballs. I think the flavor is going to come from those walnuts, you know. So it looks like we're ready to start rolling. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start rolling them. They look like meatballs, don't they? So I'm going to put them on my Silpat, and I'm going to go ahead and put these together. Should make a nice batch. I don't make super large meatballs. And we're only going to bake them until they're brown. And so you can see we got 16 meatballs out of this. That's pretty good. That's a lot of meatballs, as they say. As that commercial used to say. I'm pretty old, so I don't know if you'll remember that. Okay, so that's it. 16 meatballs. All done. And we're going to put these in the oven. Remember, the temperature is at 375. While the meatballs are cooking, let's look at the sauce, and I'm going to show you how chunky it is, and then I'm going to show you how I want to get it smoother. So let me bring you in a little bit so you can look inside the pot. Oops, there you go. So you can see how it's chunky with those vegetables, you know, the carrots and the onions, which give it a lot of flavor. You can see the basil, which is really nice, but I do like it thinner than that, so I am going to use my emulsifier. And I'm going to thin it out, so we'll see how that looks. So I finished with the emulsifier, and now take another look and see what you think, how smoother it looks, okay? So you can see it's more smooth but chunky. Does that make sense? I don't know. It makes sense to me, but, you know, I'm the only one in my head, so what can I tell you? I'm going to taste it and see if we need to add anything. No, I don't need anything. I think next time I would make sure I have the agave because I think it needs a little more sweetness to it, but the wine really made a difference. All right, so I'm going to make myself a pasta right now so I can have some sauce. The meatballs are going to take probably 30 minutes, so I'll see you back here in 2 seconds when the meatballs are done. So the meatballs aren't quite done yet. I would say we could take a look at those. They're firming up, but they're going to take a little bit longer to brown. So in the meantime, I thought I'd have some lunch. So I made myself some mini penne. I've never had these before, but I wanted to try them. Look how good the penne looks with the sauce. Isn't that beautiful? But for the Thanksgiving meal, I'm going to use farfallis because these are my favorite. I love bow tie pastas. So we'll come back in a few minutes and check on the meatballs when they're done, and then we'll give a taste to those too. Okay, the meatballs are done. I will show you how nice and brown they came out. Can you see that? Can you see how brown they are? They look like real meatballs, don't they? So let's do this. We're going to go ahead and taste one and see. That's the real thing, how they taste. So let's go ahead and give this a try. Break it in half. Looks like a meatball inside too. I'm going to break it up. Put my sauce on it. Here we go. True taste test. A little nutty. That must be the walnuts. I like the texture. Just try it without too much sauce. I mean, it's pretty good. I could see me eating this like a meatball sub. Maybe with the mozzarella that you make with, you know, the almonds and the tapioca flour. It's not bad. It's better than what I've had, put it that way. I would eat this. I'm enjoying it. So, okay. I'm going to let these cool. I'm going to put them in a container, save them for Thanksgiving, bring them with me. Here's what I would change. I would add parsley and maybe some onion powder and garlic powder. Give it that extra flavor. Other than that, I don't taste the nutmeg, so I'd probably leave that out for sure next time. But yeah, not bad at all. So I am going to stop this video here and do a separate video for the eggplant parm. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you're happy with the marinara sauce and with the meatballs. And it was a pleasure doing this for you. Remember to like and share. And thank you again. Have a fantastic Saturday. Watch for the next video on the eggplant. Thank you.